Episode 184 coming at you guys here at Movies You Miss Podcast. Welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed the last week's episode of Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland. We are going to be getting into two heavier horror flicks this week, and I'm excited because my pick... I love it so much, and I actually am a big fan of Vee's pick as well, but we'll get into those shortly. Vee, how are you this October morning?
I'm doing okay, John. A little bit more scared than last week, that's for sure. Can we do one October of just horror comedies?
No.
Damn it. Well, it was worth a try, but you and our audience know that you've made me a horror fan over the last couple years, so it's okay. But it's harder when I'm watching these movies by myself.
Oh, I can imagine. I love watching horror movies by myself. I tend to go to horror movies by myself in the theaters only because I'm just similar to other movies. I tend to worry if the person that I'm with is enjoying it, and sometimes that takes me out of it. So just like the other night, like we discussed, I went and saw Hereditary, and not that anybody that I know was going to go see that movie with me, including my wife. But you know what? Hey, normally we like to break down what we do here, but first I think we should just jump into the movies that we watched over the last week because I watched some good ones.
So did I.
Ho-ho! All right, let's take it away. What did you see on streaming or in theaters this last week, V?
I pulled a John and actually saw 4 movies this week.
All right.
I was very proud of myself, and all of them, unfortunately, were on streaming, but that's okay. I was really comfortable, and the big reason why I was able to do it is because in the last week, I got both my COVID and flu vaccinations on the same day, so the next day, all I did was watch movies.
Hell yeah.
I felt like curling up on the couch and just watching films, and it was wonderful. And so
hell yes.
I'm going to start, just like you, with the movie I liked the least, and that is Ballerina from the John Wick universe.
Yeah.
The action was cool. Of course it was. It was made by a bunch of stuntmen. But the only good scenes that I really liked had Keanu Reeves in them. And so I just kept thinking to myself, why aren't I just watching a John Wick film instead?
Yeah.
I think if I liked Ana de Armas and thought she was a talented actress, I would probably have enjoyed the movie a little bit more. But since I don't like her, I just did not give a single shit about her character. I thought Gabriel Byrne was great. It was nice to see him in a film again. And of course, Angelica Houston being in it was very cool. But yeah, otherwise, it's a completely throwaway film. It was definitely unnecessary. Just watch a John Wick movie instead.
Yeah, I think I said to you the other day, it's a completely unnecessary flick, but I do really like the action. I think the action is insane and awesome.
Yeah, just not, I don't think it rivals or even comes close to any of the John Wick films, so...
Oh, I'll agree with you on that. Okay. Absolutely.
The flamethrower scene was cool, though.
That was cool. I liked the back alley scene after she leaves the restaurant. Thought that was badass. And then the whole battle up in the kitchen and restaurant up in that town that she goes to, I thought was really, really awesome.
That was a cool scene. That's true. Well, it was at least good action. And the next one I saw was a documentary that I've been meaning to see for a while, and you saw it a couple weeks ago. It Stands, about Eminem.
Oh, yeah.
This movie made me wildly uncomfortable.
Okay, yeah, I could see that, totally.
You and I have worked with many, many famous people throughout our careers, both actors and musicians, and we have had the privilege of getting to know them as people, as real humans. And so watching this hour and 40-minute documentary about these fans who talk about Eminem like they know him was so disturbing to me. And it's not to knock their fandom or the fact that they love him or that his artistry or music helped them get through terrible or troubling things in their lives. I'm not dismissing any of that. My concern is around how they talk about him as a person. And I've encountered that, and I'm sure you have too, throughout our lives, of people talking about these famous either musicians or actors like they know them.
Yep.
And they don't. And it doesn't matter how much these people put themselves on social media or how much you see behind the scenes of them. Or one of these fans has watched 1,000 interviews of Eminem's.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right? And so... It's a fascinating documentary when it comes to fandom and the term of stan, which Eminem is where that pop culture term originated. And so it was an interesting documentary for anybody who wants to dive into hardcore fanatics like that. But as someone who has worked in the entertainment industry, it was a reminder of how many times or how many people feel like they know a famous person just because they've seen them on TV.
Right.
And so, yeah, in that way, it just made me completely uncomfortable.
What's really wild to me, and I know I mentioned this when I talked about it after I had watched it a few weeks ago, the one woman that has 22 portraits tattooed of Marshall Mathers all over her.
Thought of you as soon as they introduced her, because you had mentioned that. I was like, oh my God, yeah.
It was so just, it's interesting. Now, I have a horror collage of famous horror icons. Now,
characters.
I only have 2 so far. They are characters, yes. Yeah, of course, yeah. It's not Robert Englund's face. It's Freddy Krueger's face. But I'm just not going to get 22 portraits of the same person tattooed on me. I think that's massive overkill.
Like I said, it was intense and made me a bit uncomfortable, but it was a very good documentary, and I hadn't seen a doc about this level of fandom before, and so it was an interesting deep dive, that's for sure.
It really was, and even the letters that some of these people wrote to him, and they're rereading them, and it's just kind of like, oh gosh, like, come on.
Yeah. Exactly. So
wild stuff indeed.
That's streaming on Paramount Plus right now. And then I saw a horror movie that I wished I'd seen in theaters. I just didn't get a chance to back when it came out. You're a big fan of this movie and have reminded me about it. Until Dawn. It's now streaming on Netflix.
Yeah.
Great horror film. I loved the originality of it. It was cool. It was kind of a take on Groundhog Day, but not really. I think this is a very original film, and seeing Peter Stormare in it was great, and all of the different ways how these people died was so good. It was so good. I know that's weird to say, but it was great how they made this movie, and everything about it I loved. I loved the set. I loved the storyline. The acting was good, even though I didn't recognize any of these kids who were playing the 4 main ones in this film. And I just had a great time, and I highly recommend my sister Shannon watching this because she likes horror movies.
Perfect.
It's a little bit gruesome, but God, it's so good. One of the best horror movies of the year, absolutely.
Oh, I'll give you that. And I will say that the Asian girl in this movie is in one of your favorite movies of the year as well. She's in that Freaky Tales. She's in the first bit of Freaky Tales.
That's right. Wow. Thank you for telling me about that connection. I didn't realize she was in that movie too. Especially because you hated it, so I appreciate it.
I didn't hate it. It just didn't land for me like it landed for you.
Yeah.
But she looks completely different in both movies.
Yes,
so
she does.
She blends into her characters very well.
She did, yeah. She did a great job in Until Dawn, that's for sure.
No, I'm glad you liked it.
I'm glad I was able to see another horror movie in the month of October, too.
Hell yeah.
And then lastly, my favorite film of the week that I saw. It's a remake, and you know how much we bemoan live-action remakes on this show. However, every once in a while, they do get it right, and they sure as shit did for this one, because this is the remake of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's better than the original.
I know it is. It totally is, and it's the same story, and it's everything from the OG, even down to Gerard Butler. And the writer-director wrote and directed the animated version, so it just it had the heart that it originally had, and oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh, the kid who plays Hiccup did such a good job. I think he was better casting than Jay Baruchel, even though we are fans of Jay on this show.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, highly recommend. It's a gorgeous film. Every time that score comes up,
so good.
Chills, absolute chills. And I was so happy to finally watch this film. I've been meaning to for months, and just go watch How to Train Your Dragon, the remake. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's so damn good.
So those are the 4 movies I saw last week. I'm so happy to be back on track and be catching up to John, especially with documentaries. And so now it's your turn to talk about the new movies you saw in theaters or on streaming this week.
All right. Well, I had a good time at the movies in theaters and on streaming this week. I'll start with the movie I enjoyed the least.
Perfect.
This is the new Dakota Fanning film on whatever streamer it was. I honestly can't remember. But this is a film called Vicious.
Haven't heard of it.
Yeah, not many people have, although now that I've watched it, and apparently our phones are listening, because all I'm seeing are the Rotten Tomato scores and the reviews and everything else for Vicious on Facebook. I gave it a C-. Dakota Fanning was good. The story was really cool. It just kind of fell apart about 40 minutes in, and I never really recovered from it.
Bummer.
I just kind of was like, meh. Yeah, C-, not bad, not great, but certainly the one that I enjoyed least over this last week.
Okay, out of how many movies that you saw?
I saw 7 movies this week.
Damn, okay.
Yeah, 2 of which were re-releases because Regal is doing...
They don't
Well,
count.
yeah,
Nope.
yeah.
Nope.
I still saw them, so they
They
count.
are not new movies in theaters.
No.
They are not 2025
However,
films. That is a very strict parameter of this section of the show.
Yes, but these 2 movies hold special places in each of our hearts because I've done both of them here at Movies You Miss Podcast. I went and saw The Witch and Hereditary back in theaters.
That is awesome, though, especially because we just talked about The Witch a couple weeks ago.
Exactly, and I had never seen either of these movies in theaters before, so it was an absolute treat to get to finally see 2 of my favorite horror movies back in theaters.
Awesome.
Other than that, I saw a handful of other movies. I will start with another movie that I enjoyed the least. This is Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine.
I cannot bring myself to go watch that film, even though I love Emily Blunt.
I don't think you're going to be missing a single thing.
Okay. Yeah,
if you never see it.
What
It
everybody's
is
been
a
saying.
very, it's a very well-crafted movie. Dwayne Johnson really delivers. His tattoos are covered up as well. Emily Blunt was awesome, and Ben Safdie can certainly direct a movie. I couldn't care about anybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
I also am not a big UFC guy, not that that means I'm not going to like the movie. I just didn't care. None of it grabbed me emotionally. I don't see this going the Oscar route, but maybe it will. Who knows? Smashing Machine, if you care about UFC, give it a shot, but I could take it or leave it. Then I went and saw the new Ethan Hawke Mason Thames, who Mason Thames actually plays Hiccup in the live-action How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
I went and saw Black Phone 2.
I can't believe you actually watched this film, given you hated the first one.
I know. I just figured I'd bite the bullet. The trailer was pretty good, and I give this one the same grade that I gave Black Phone, which is a C+. Ethan Hawke was really good. There's some gruesome moments, and there's a lot of cool things going on in the movie. It just, it's fine. It's nothing fantastic.
There are better horror movies from 2025.
Absolutely, yes.
All right.
I didn't hate it, but
Right.
I also certainly did not love it.
Okay.
Then I went and saw this fantastic horror movie, just told through the perspective of a puppet dog. I went and saw Good Boy.
I made you spoil that movie for me over text just to make sure if I can watch it or not.
Yeah, my sister made me spoil it for her too, and if that's not a spoiler for you, I guess we are spoiling. However, I'm going to tell you right now, Good Boy is fan-fucking-tastic. It is so well done. The dog is incredible, and it's a really, really cool movie, and the way that they did it was so awesome. There's about a 10-minute documentary on the making of after the credits, and it's really, really, really awesome.
I bet the dog's a better actor than Ana de Armas.
Well, the dog certainly can emote.
Oh, so he's much better than Gal Gadot. then.
Much better than Ana de Armas, yes. So I would suggest Good Boy for anybody that is fans of horror movies. It certainly scared me 3 or 4 different times in that hour. The movie is an hour and 13 minutes long.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I guess the feature criteria falls short by 7 minutes with this one, but that's still all right because it was a lot of fucking fun.
Well, I'm sure there's only so much film you can make when you're following around a dog.
That's also true. And the final film that I watched over this last week was on streaming as well. I believe it was on Amazon Prime. This is the Ryan Reynolds-produced, Colin Hanks-directed I Like Me, the John Candy documentary.
Damn it, I was going to watch that too.
So I am ahead of you again by one documentary in 2025.
Yep.
Having seen this movie, if anybody has seen Uncle Buck, Home Alone, Spaceballs, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, you know who John Candy is. This movie made me cry 3 different times. It is wonderful. It is just fantastic, full of heart, full of love for John Candy. And everybody that I know that knows John Candy, or knows of him, since nobody actually knew him as fandoms go, he was just an incredible guy. And the stories of him and John Hughes and him and Chris Columbus, etc., just so awesome.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Yes, it's definitely on my list.
You should definitely watch it, as should everybody else. And that is what I saw in theaters or on streaming over this last week.
And that is also what I saw in theaters or on streaming this week.
Wonderful. Glad that you watched some movies. Sorry you weren't feeling so good, but sometimes that's the best time to watch horror movies because you can actually really connect with them because you're feeling like shit. And horror movies tend to make people feel like shit.
Well, or queasy, that's true. And yes, when I'm not feeling well, it's the best time for me to actually give myself permission to sit down and watch some movies in a row. And I'm so glad I'm back to watching new movies for all of you and telling you what I thought about them. It's nice to be back on this saddle.
Hell yeah. One of my favorite Aerosmith songs, Back in the Saddle.
That is a good song.
Anyway, here at Movies You Missed Podcast, we like to discuss movies that have fallen under the radar, might have been forgotten, or movies that we feel just need to be revisited. My pick this week, I feel falls in line with all of those categories, because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know a lot of people that have seen my pick.
I've heard about it a bunch. I actually thought it was a Rob Zombie film.
Well, that makes sense, because he has his trilogy of House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and Three from Hell. So maybe that's where you got the correlation from.
Maybe. I was absolutely shocked to find out who directed your film.
Yeah, I know. It's great. We'll get into that in just a little bit. I believe you start us off going way, way, way back in the day to colonial New England. Vee, are you ready to take us on a very, very intense adventure?
I absolutely am, and when you were saying way, way back in the day, I thought you were going to mention the year this movie was made, which is 1999, and I was about to smack the shit out of you if you were going to say that was a long time ago. Shut your mouth.
Back in the day. 4 years away from that being 30 fucking years ago. It's horrible.
Anyway, gonna crumble into dust.
Let's get over that. Let's get over that and jump into the Tree of Life or the Tree of Death, whatever it is that they call this tree in this movie.
Hell.
That's right, the Tree of Hell. Yes. All right, V, it's your turn. Jump on it. Get on that horse. Saddle on up. Take us on a ride.
Ride like the wind, gunpowder. That's what I always say when that horse is introduced.
Is the horse's name Gunpowder?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I must have missed that. I've been watching your movie for almost 30 years.
Yes, 26 to be exact, because as I said, this movie came out in 1999. It is a classic. It is directed by Tim Burton, one of my favorites of his, if not my favorite. And this stars, given it's a Tim Burton movie, Johnny Depp, of course.
Hey,
it also stars Christina Ricci. I want to say my father brought this movie home to us back in 1999 or 2000 for all of us to watch, and we immediately all fell in love with it. This movie is Sleepy Hollow. And as you said, it's colonial New England. In fact, it's post-Revolutionary War New England, because this takes place in 1799. This movie opens up in New York, introducing us to a police inspector named Ichabod Crane, played by Johnny Depp. And he reminds me a little bit of early Sherlock Holmes because he's trying to use science to prove who killed or how someone died in New York when they find bodies. And of course, the classic trope of nobody believing him, thinking he's a crazy person because he's trying to use science instead of torturing these suspects until they confess. What are you thinking, Ichabod? I love when he goes back to the main jail and we get introduced to Christopher Lee, of all people. Yes!
Yeah!
Such a great cameo in this movie. Christopher Lee was a badass, and he credits Tim Burton hiring him for this small role for revitalizing his career, actually. He was floundering a little bit in the 90s, and because of this performance and just kind of getting back into mainstream movies, he said that that was the reason why he was able to get auditions for not only Count Dooku in Star Wars, but also Saruman in Lord of the Rings.
Saruman.
Which is one of my literary pet peeves because there's Sauron and Saruman.
Yeah. And so many people after The Lord of the Rings came out were like, oh, Christopher Lee is Sauron. You're like, no, he's Saruman. Yeah, I know. It's so weird how that happens in a lot of those fantasy novels. There's so many characters with similar names. It's like, okay.
As I always say, there are so many letters to choose from. Why'd you have to make their names so similar?
Yeah.
Anyway.
26 letters in the alphabet, people.
So Christopher Lee is Ichabod Crane's boss and is really dismissive of Ichabod trying to use science to solve cases. And he really wants Ichabod out of his life and everyone else's life in the police force. And so he tells Ichabod about a series of murders that have occurred in upstate New York. They have been unexplained, and he wants Ichabod to go and investigate it. And so now Ichabod has an assignment. And that's where we get the opening credits of Ichabod traveling up to the Hudson Valley of New York. And I really love the opening credits of this movie. It sets the tone. It's beautiful. The landscape is gorgeous. The credits are really well done and stylized. It just gives you a good sense of what the tone of this movie is going to be. And that is when Ichabod arrives to Sleepy Hollow. And he discovers there have been a series of murders, 4 in fact, where the cause of death is people being decapitated.
Yeah.
I love how Johnny says decapitated in this movie. I don't know why.
decapitated.
Ichabod meets some of the prominent citizens of this town. First and foremost, Baltus Van Tassel, who is housing Ichabod. He is played by Michael Gambon. Michael was the one who took over for the spot of Dumbledore after Richard Harris died.
Yeah. When he walked in, I was like, hey, the OG Dumbledore.
Actually, the new Dumbledore. Well, middle Dumbledore, I guess, because then Jude Law played the new Dumbledore.
Oh, right.
So there's been three of them.
That's right.
And he is married to Lady Van Tassel. She doesn't get a first name in this movie because, of course, she doesn't. She's just a woman. So Lady Van Tassel is played by Miranda Richardson. She's Rita Skeeter in the Harry Potter movies.
Rita Skeeter? What character is that? I
the annoying
remember.
Journalist with those awesome glasses.
Oh, yeah. Okay, in Goblet of Fire, she comes in and she plants the story about Hermione and Potter.
And beyond Baltus Van Tassel, who is the unofficial mayor of this town, everybody goes to him, and his home hosts all of the village gatherings, etc. Beyond him, we also have the Reverend Steenwick. He's played by Jeffrey Jones, who was the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I didn't know this. He's also in Amadeus.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so we'll talk about him again, but we're not going to talk about him more than this because he is a piece of shit who is a registered child sex offender, which is why you don't see him in movies anymore.
Fuck? It's so weird because I always remember him in Beetlejuice and being like, that is a strange-looking man.
Yes.
And then all these years later, that comes out, and I'm like, well, I guess the strange-looking ones always somehow have some sort of dark closet.
Well, the good-looking ones do too, and don't be dismissive. But that is also
Hey,
why...
Don't talk about me like that.
That was also why he wasn't in the return of Beetlejuice. He was married to Catherine O'Hara's character in the original, but that's why he didn't show up in the new one last year. We also have Magistrate...
He does for a second, though. I think they, give him...
They just had, a body double.
It's like a it's like a claymation thing.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. I do remember seeing Beetlejuice, and I remember liking it, and I remember being like, oh, they gave that guy even that. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, that is surprising. Magistrate Phillips is played by Richard Griffiths. He's Uncle Vernon in Harry Potter. We basically have the cast of Harry Potter in this movie.
I know. When I was watching it, and like I said, I've been watching this movie for so long, and I always remember him in one specific scene that I'm sure you'll get into in a little bit.
Oh, you mean with Ichabod in the field?
Yes. Yeah. So
Yes.
awesome. But we
That's a
have
great
talked
scene.
about him before because he is in About Time as well.
Yes, he is. God, that movie makes me cry. I love it so much.
Yeah, and he was such an interesting-looking fellow, too.
Another interesting-looking fellow is Ian McDiarmid. He plays Dr. Lancaster in this movie with some great hair. He's Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah!
And he's also in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels as the butler.
That's right. Hell yes.
And lastly, making up this group of men who are very powerful in this town is Michael Gough. He plays Notary Hardenbrook. He is Alfred the butler in the original Batman movies.
Okay, that's it. I've seen this guy so many times.
Actually, the first 4 Batman movies, even beyond Tim Burton.
Yeah, Batman Forever. Yep.
And Batman and Robin.
Oh, yeah.
He was the most consistent part out of those 4 movies from the 90s, actually.
I know, that's so funny. The butler remains the same, but Batman changes 3 times.
Yeah. So all of these men get together and try to tell Ichabod exactly what's going on, that 4 people in the town have been murdered. 2 of them are members of the Van Garrett family, a father and son. Another is a widow. And lastly, a servant. And as they're discussing these murders and describing them to Ichabod, and Ichabod says, oh yes, they've been decapitated, their heads found near them, all of the men stop, get silent, and say, no, all of their heads are missing, and they've been taken.
How much of your superiors explained to you, Constable?
Only that the 3 were slain in open ground, their heads found severed from their bodies.
Their heads were not found severed. Their heads were not found at all.
The heads are gone?
Taken. Taken by the Headless Horseman. Taken back to hell.
Ichabod is really incredulous about these stories. All of the men in these town who seem to be upstanding citizens are believing in this ghost story about a headless horseman, saying that he is the reason why these people have been killed. He's from hell, he's took the heads back to hell, and it is a demon who has killed all these people. And Ichabod says, no, it is a person of flesh and blood, and I'm going to seek him out. And right from the get-go, this movie diverges from the story of the Headless Horseman. Washington Irving wrote a short story called The Legend of Sleepy Hollow back in 1820. I actually read this story over the last week before this recording, and I can tell you that it is a very, very different tale than what we are presented in this movie. First and foremost, Ichabod already lives in Sleepy Hollow. He's actually a teacher. He's very odd-looking. He looks a little bit like a scarecrow. There's very descriptive aspects of his body and his face in this short story, and to a point where Johnny Depp even offered to wear prosthetics to make him look a little bit lankier and bigger clothes to make him look very skinny. And Tim Burton said no, he actually wanted Johnny to have a lot of personality quirks instead. And so that's why we're given this very befuddled, very awkward character of Ichabod Crane in this movie. The story also diverts in a major way because as these men are telling Ichabod in the movie about who is responsible for these killings, because they know who has been killing these townsfolk, it is actually the Headless Horseman. And they tell him a story about he's a Hessian mercenary who loved to chop off the heads of American soldiers, and then finally he was cornered and killed himself in the same way, and now he's come back from the dead. Now, Hessian mercenaries actually fought in the Revolutionary War. That is a real thing. About 30,000 German troops from the areas of Hesse-Kassel and Hesse-Hanau, which are areas of Germany, came over from an agreement between Germany and Britain back in the day. They were regular soldiers in the army, and because of this alliance that Germany and England had, Germany gave them a bunch of troops, 30,000 in fact. And that's how Hessians arrived on our shores and participated in the American Revolutionary War. So that's all true, which is very cool. But the difference is this Hessian was killed by a cannonball lopping off his head in an unnamed battle of the Revolutionary War. And that was the inspiration. And so there wasn't this backstory, which is very cool. And I really like the creative liberties that they took in the screenwriting of this movie to have him be this vengeful asshole who loved to chop off the heads of American soldiers. And then he got his just desserts when he got killed as well. And that's a really good, rich backstory for this movie. So I'm really glad they did it. But there is a lot of differences between this short story and the movie. And I won't tell you any more about what happens in the short story because it's wildly different. And the conclusion of it is crazy different. And I really enjoyed reading it because it is in a bit longer prose and it's very beautifully written. I highly recommend it. It's only like 90 pages long. And so The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving is the short story that this movie is based on. Okay, so now we know the story of the Headless Horseman, now we know why Ichabod is there. And so beyond meeting all of these men, Ichabod also meets Van Tassel's daughter, played by Christina Ricci. She is Katrina Van Tassel. I have discussed her before because she appeared in the Addams Family movies. Well, Addams Family Values, which was my pick for our sequels episode when you picked Wayne's World 2.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Christopher Walken, who plays the Headless Horseman in this movie, well, before he became headless at least, he was also in Wayne's Worlds 2.
Yes.
But more importantly, and I think a better role, when he was Denzel Washington's best friend in Man on Fire, my previous pick.
Yes.
So now we have the cast and this wonderful town, which is a set that was built specifically for this movie. We follow Ichabod as he tries to inject some reality, some science into the cause of these murders, while the townsfolk are all trying to convince him that no, this is the demon from hell who is killing all these people. And the killings continue, in fact. And Ichabod is trying to understand if there's a motive, if there's a strategy as to why these victims specifically are being chosen. And I love the investigative aspect of this movie. I love that he is being faced with things that he does not believe. And there's this great play between science and the supernatural in this movie. I think it's really well done. It's my favorite Johnny Depp film. I was looking through all of his credits for this episode. He hasn't been in a good movie in over 15 years.
So you're not a Pirates of the Caribbean fan then?
The first one, yeah. The first three are amazing, but they were all released more than 15 years ago. On Stranger Tides is terrible.
I guess that's true.
And on Stranger Tides is a terrible movie.
I'm gonna push back on that one. Actually, I used to think that, and then I watched all 5 of them last year, and actually thought number 4 was really fucking good. Ian McShane was badass.
I respect your opinion.
They're not for everybody. I know
Opinion
that.
is
And I
valid.
really liked Dead Men Tell No Tales with Javier Bardem. I thought that one was badass. It teeters on way too cheesy at times, but he was so kick-ass as the villain.
Okay. Other
Nowhere to go with that one.
No, I can't even garner. That doesn't even garner a response from me. And so, beyond that, I actually really liked him in Chocolat. I think that is a good movie. It's not Oscar worthy. I
Never
cannot
saw that one.
believe it won Oscars, but it was a nice rom-com, so I like that.
I remember when it came out, I never saw it, and I will never forget the whole I love you man thing with chocolat. You mean chocolate? Chocolat.
Oh, I never saw I Love You Man because I don't think
You don't like Paul Rudd or Jason Segel?
I don't think I ever just
What
sat
is
down
wrong
and
with
watched
you?
it. I know. I actually don't.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't believe I actually ever saw that.
Well, I'll tell you this. It is a far superior film to We Are the Millers, that's for sure.
Disagree. And moving on.
Never seen it!
It doesn't matter.
I guess I'll have to agree with you on him not being in anything really noteworthy in a very long time.
But this movie's great, and it holds up really well, and so for the rest of the film, he is continuing to investigate and figure out exactly what is going on and if this Headless Horseman is in fact real, as all the townspeople are telling him. And I love this film because it actually borders on a horror comedy. There are some very funny scenes in this film.
Oh, yeah.
One of which is when Ichabod is finally coming to terms that there is a Headless Horseman, and they try to defeat him. Somebody asks, "Is he dead?"
Is he dead?
That's the problem. He was dead to begin with.
There are some fantastic cinematography shots in this movie. That is because Emmanuel Lubezki was the cinematographer for this film.
Hell yeah.
Which is wild. Emmanuel is the cinematographer who won 3 Oscars in a row about 10 years ago.
Fuck yeah.
2014 through 2016. He won for Gravity, Birdman, which is one of your picks,
Yes, indeed.
and also The Revenant, which was the movie that Leonardo DiCaprio won his Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
He also was a cinematographer on Children of Men, another one of your picks.
Hell yes.
Reality Bites, The Birdcage, one of my former picks. Ali, A Series of Unfortunate Events, which I think is a really underrated Jim Carrey movie. I think it's really good.
It is. I remember. I've only seen it one time, but I remember really enjoying it.
I should put it on the list.
Yeah, maybe you should.
And Emmanuel was also cinematographer on another one of your previous picks, Burn After Reading.
That's correct. He was.
And that is why this movie is as gorgeous as it is. Emmanuel Lubezki is an incredible cinematographer. He sets up his shots so well. They're so purposeful, including all of the background and effects. He has some very important decisions that he makes in this film to make it feel as big as it is, because most of this movie was filmed either on sets that they built, so this town was completely fake, or on sound stages. Most of the forest in this movie is actually on a soundstage, even though it became kind of real because animals and birds took residence on these large sound stages in all of these trees. And so a lot of the bird noise that you hear in this movie is real birds, even though it's a soundstage.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is hilarious. But this town for the movie was built from the ground up in 3 months. Most of the buildings were complete with rooms, floors, and stairs so they could film inside as well. It was completely dismantled after filming, and at the time, it was the largest set built in England. And then my pick of Billy Elliot came out, and that beat it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And all the exteriors were shot with a blue filter to give this ominous, dark New England feeling to this film. And so all of the blood in this movie had to be bright orange in order to come across as red when it was shot.
Yeah.
So they made some very deliberate decisions to make this movie feel as dark and foreboding as it did. I think that really helps so much. It's the exact opposite of what they did for Big Fish, which was bright and colorful, and that fake town in Big Fish felt like heaven. It was just so gorgeous, right? And this is the more classic Tim Burton dark gothic feel to it.
Definitely.
So we've both been watching this movie for 26 years. Clearly, John likes it too. But I want to pause and give John an opportunity to tell me more about what he thinks about the film and any of his favorite parts of it.
All right, let's do it. Like you said, we've been watching this movie for a very long time. I did not actually see Sleepy Hollow until 2002. I was very excited about it coming out. I remember being in 8th grade, and my history teacher at the time said that she would give everybody in the class extra credit if they went and saw the movie because of the backstory of the Headless Horseman being a Hessian mercenary. My parents were like, no, we're not going to take you to see an R-rated movie. Why would we do that? Even though you would get extra credit at school, we're not doing that. Blah, 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 blah. So I finally ended up seeing it, and I remember really liking it immediately, probably because it had that stigma of, well, now I can finally see this movie. But over the last several years, it's really grown on me as one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. And I know Johnny Depp and Tim Burton have been working together for decades, and while this one is certainly one of my favorites, my favorite one, and I know a lot of people are going to very likely disagree with me on this one, is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I think Sweeney Todd is a badass movie. A lot of people just don't appreciate it for what it is. Now, granted, Johnny Depp is not the greatest singer in the world.
At all.
Neither is Helena Bonham Carter.
At all.
But the movie itself is very well put together. Alan Rickman's great. Timothy Spall is awesome. And so is, well, I just said Alan Rickman. Gotta always mention Alan Rickman as often as we can. But going back to Sleepy Hollow, I don't know if you remember this show on MTV from decades past called Fanatic. Do you remember that show?
Yes.
I remember watching the episode of Fanatic where two people were chosen for being the biggest fan of Johnny Depp and being the biggest fan of Christina Ricci, going through a whole makeup and wardrobe process to get dressed up as Ichabod Crane and Katrina, and they went around New York City dressed as both of them and went and saw the premiere of the movie, got to hang out with Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci, and I was so jealous about that. And I remember also when it came out, a lot of people had a big problem with the fact that the blood was not as crimson as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, well, it's kind of a silly story in a way with a headless horseman and, you know, this whole investigation on murders in this small town. And I think one of the reasons why it didn't really grab me the first time was because I heard about so much flack of the blood not being red and being
heard
very
any of
bright
that.
and being orange. Oh, well, that was a big thing where I was living at the time. Fast forward years later, buying it on Blu-ray, watching it with my now wife, Amy, and I think she used to like it, but she doesn't like it so much anymore. I'm not entirely sure why.
She told me.
My wife
She says
kinda
it's the
gets
pacing.
That. Oh, okay, yeah, the pacing. I disagree
disagree
with the pacing. I think
Yeah.
I think the pacing is pretty good.
So do I, yeah.
And it is a long movie. It's just under 2 hours. They could have told the story in an hour and a half. However, I like that we see a lot of murders happen and a lot of decapitations happen, and they're done really well. Some of them are really fucking twisted.
Yeah.
You also didn't mention Casper Van Dien being in this movie.
I was getting there, but since he's in your previous
Okay, I
pick,
wasn't
I
sure.
think it's perfect that you mentioned him, so go ahead.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. I loved that he showed up in this movie, and his demise scene truly is one of the
Fantastic.
best in the movie. It's so awesome. And Casper Van Dien was in my past pick of Starship Troopers, Johnny Rico.
Him being in this movie in that very small role just reminded me of how terrible of an actor he is.
Yeah, nothing against you, Casper, but yeah.
An Oscar winner, you
Everybody
were not.
outshines you, man. Yeah, everybody outshines you. Including a headless horseman.
Yeah. The Headless Horseman is better at emoting than Casper Van Dien.
Yeah. And I think it's hilarious who plays the Headless Horseman, but I imagine you'll get into that in a minute.
Yes, I
I
will.
just like the fact that the lore of the Headless Horseman is after certain people, and even when Van Dien's character is trying to go after him, the Horseman's doesn't give a fuck about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, at one point or another, the Horseman's like, all right, you know what, fuck it, I'm not getting anywhere. I gotta off you now so I can actually fulfill what I'm here to do.
You're
so
in
I
my
thought
way.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. You're blocking my way. But I love the fact that everything was built from the ground up. I've watched the making of this movie on the Blu-ray several times. I didn't watch it this time only because it was your pick, but I every year I watch Sleepy Hollow in October, and I always watch the making of because it's so impressive. The costumes are absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I hadn't
love
mentioned that yet.
It's just, oh yeah, costumes are amazing. The hairstyles are great.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue is awesome. And it's just an awesome flick. And it is one of Tim Burton's few R-rated movies. I think it's this and Sweeney Todd. I don't think anything else has been above PG-13. And granted, both of those movies they have orange blood. That's another thing. Now that you said that about Sleepy Hollow, it being so dark, they had to up the color of the blood to actually show on film. The blood in Sweeney Todd is not very red either. And a lot of people had a problem with that too. But anyway, just a badass movie, great for Halloween. Every time Amy and I would be at Disneyland or Disney World for Halloween, the Headless Horseman would always walk on the main street on a horse that was trotting around with a fiery pumpkin, and that's going back to the OG Ichabod Crane cartoons that Disney produced and made him look super lanky, super thin with that sort of colonial haircut and a nose that could fucking start a tornado. So it just
It's like a Roxanne
It
nose.
was very much so like a Roxanne nose. But yes, major fan of Sleepy Hollow. Glad that you picked it for this week. I love the movie, and I will love it likely for the rest of my life.
I'm so glad to hear that. And yes, I watch this movie, I think every year, every other year. It is definitely a staple for me. It's just, like you said, so well done. Everything comes together really nicely. The dialogue is fantastic. And I did want to bring up the costumes as well because they are so beautiful. And there's a dress at the very end that has this black piping that's just incredible. My favorite costume of the whole movie, in fact. And so, yes, I'm glad you love it for these similar reasons as me. And you brought up a lot of really good points that I hadn't been able to mention yet. So thank you so much for that. And I'm so glad you love this movie as much as I do.
I do. And I always, I know a lot of people don't usually talk about it because it is minimal in the movie, but the flashbacks that Ichabod has of his mother, oh, man. Fucking terrifying. And she was so gorgeous. Whoever plays his mom. Oh my god.
And nothing
absolute knockout.
Scares me as much as religious extremism.
Yeah, that coffin that they put her in. Oh gosh.
But
horrible.
Speaking of religion, I will say some of my favorite shots of the movie by Emmanuel Lubezki are in the church scene. Those those bird's eye shots that he does of and the one behind Christina Ricci as she's starting to run through the church. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. And it's crazy to think that a movie like this, and especially a Tim Burton film, that a lot of them have this element of silliness to them that you don't take as seriously as maybe you should. And that's another reason why I think he should be doing more R-rated films, because there's a weightiness to them that he can add, or that just comes with an R-rated film. And so this is a really well put together film. And a lot of people don't think that about Tim Burton because he has become rather one note with Alice in Wonderland, another Johnny Depp movie, actually a movie I worked on, and Beetlejuice, and all of these movies that have a similar vibe. But I think his best movies are the ones that have a little bit more creativity to them and seem to push him a little bit further outside of his comfort zone. Like I said, your previous pick of Big Fish is incredible. He directed Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which I always forget that he's the one who directed that movie.
Yeah.
Batman and Batman Returns, of course, great films with Michael Keaton. Jack Nicholson is the Joker in the first one. He also directed Mars Attacks, which I always forget as well.
Oh, yeah. Mars Attacks, one of his magnus opuses of the 90s.
Yeah, I think so, too. And I really like those films where you don't realize it's Tim Burton, and I think those are his better films. And I just think he either has the right people around him, or he's pushing himself a little more to push them to the next level of quality and being memorable. And I think Sleepy Hollow is certainly one of them.
I agree.
And I'm not the only one who thinks that, actually. We're not the only ones who think that, because Sleepy Hollow is an Oscar winner.
Oh, hell yeah.
It won for Best Art and Set Decoration for Rick Heinrichs.
That is awesome.
Which totally makes sense given the entire town that they built. They did such a great job. And Emmanuel Lubezki was also nominated for Best Cinematography. And speaking of the amazing costumes, Colleen Atwood, a legend of costume design, she was also nominated for this film. Now,
sweet.
Colleen Atwood, I cannot overstate how amazing this costume designer is. And the only way I can give you guys an idea of how incredible and talented and how long she's been in the industry is to list all of her Oscar nominations. These are just her nominations, not her entire filmography.
Sweet.
So back in 1995, she was nominated for Little Women, and then Beloved, Chicago, A Series of Unfortunate Events, which is funny because I just mentioned it a little bit ago, Memoirs of a Geisha, Sweeney Todd, and Alice in Wonderland, another Tim Burton film.
Nice.
9, Snow White and the Huntsman, Into the Woods, and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Wow. She's got quite the resume. Every time I see her name pop up in the opening credits, I'm like, ooh, all right. It's going to be a feast for the eyes, at least with the costumes.
Yes, and she's won 4 of them. So Colleen Atwood, and that's the thing, is that is another reason why, like we've been saying, this movie came together so well. It had a fantastic crew. That's why it's so good and has held up as well as it had since 1999.
Hell yeah.
And so I want you to guess, given the cast, I think it's understandable, but I want you to guess the budget of this film.
Budget of Sleepy Hollow, 1999, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Tim Burton, Casper Van Dien likely commanded a very large... Christopher Lee probably got $1 million for his 8 lines. I'm gonna that was a joke. I'm gonna say $75 million for Sleepy Hollow.
I mean, I don't think the $1 million was a joke because, in fact, this movie had a $100 million budget.
Oh my gosh! Wow, I was 25 mil short. Damn.
It was a humongous budget. I think there's a combination of the stars that came in, as well as building the set in England. I think there were a lot of costumes. I think there were a lot of reasons why it was a $100 million budget. But at the same time, you're like, holy shit, $100 million for this movie?
Yeah, because What Lies Beneath was $100 million, and that came out in 1999 too. And that one was very minimal. Not minimal. You know what I mean? It
had a cast of like 4
Harrison
people.
Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer got paid $30 million each, and the rest of that budget went to building that house.
Yeah, because 90% of the movie was shot in a single location, which was that house.
Yeah, on a soundstage, no less.
Apparently, I really like $100 million movies from 1999. And
yeah, you do.
But on a $100 million budget, it made $101 million in the U.S.
Oh, damn.
$206 million worldwide, though, and it did really well with DVD sales, so it was considered a success.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And when Christina Ricci was on the Rosie O'Donnell show to promote the movie, she mentioned that Christopher Walken was really, really shy. And he was so quiet that the other cast members had bets on who could get him to talk the most. And Miranda Richardson won because she asked him a lot of questions.
Oh, wow. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken was shy. Interesting. He does not come off that way.
He really...
But at the same time,
yeah,
so
he's
many
kind
actors...
of awkward, though. So I get that.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. Yes.
My 2 favorite things...
I've heard stories about Christopher Walken. When I was on NCSLA, one of the camera guys, I think he did that movie with Ben Stiller and Jack Black and him, the one where Jack Black's character comes up with the dog shit vaporizer or whatever. I can't remember what that movie was called.
No idea what you're talking about. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But Christopher Walken was in it. I think he played a homeless guy or something like that. I can't remember. But he was saying that Christopher Walken would only ever do 1 or 2 takes based off of the script and based off of improv. And he would always tell the director that they got it. And if they needed to do another one, Christopher Walken would literally stand on set going... while the other members of the cast actually did their lines. So Christopher Walken is a very strange fellow.
2 of my favorite performances of Christopher Walken are the SNL skit with more cowbell.
Yeah, I guess.
And Fatboy Slim's music video where he dances.
Oh, yeah, that one's great, yes. Mine's definitely Bobby from Wayne's World 2 because it's so out of the box. I love that.
No, Charlton Heston showing up in Wayne's World 2 is better.
Yeah. Another favorite role of mine that I absolutely love, and this movie is on the list. If not, I'm going to put it on when we're done with this one because it's so fucking great. It is it's the first Gore Verbinski directed film, and it stars Nathan Lane and Lee Evans and Christopher Walken. It's a movie called Mouse Hunt, and Christopher Walken is incredible in it.
Yeah, you've talked about that movie a couple times. I never saw it.
Oh, well, you're gonna.
Well, in true Tim Burton fashion, Winona Ryder was offered the role of Katrina Van Tassel.
Ah.
And when Christina Ricci got the role of Katrina, Johnny Depp was really wary because he had met her when she was a really young girl on set back when he was dating Winona Ryder. And she was Christina was like 10 at the time. And so now, many years later, having her be his love interest, he thought it was a bit weird, but I think it really worked. They had good chemistry.
They did, yeah.
And yes, as you mentioned, we want to talk about the man who played the Headless Horseman when he was headless. And that is Ray Park. And another Star Wars mention, he is Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. He's a badass stuntman.
That blew me away. I just was like, what the hell? That's crazy.
He had a great run in the late 90s, early 2000s, because remember, he played the Toad in the original X-Men movie?
Oh, yeah.
He's a great stunt double, and he was also credited by Tim Burton with giving the Headless Horseman a great sense of movement and emotion, and how he could portray that without a face was really, really impressive, and I totally agree.
Absolutely.
And lastly, the horse Goldeneye that played Gunpowder in this movie. Not only was he known for being old, but also farting a whole lot on set.
Oh, gosh.
Johnny Depp heard that he was going to be put down after this movie, so instead, Johnny adopted him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that is Sleepy Hollow, a wonderful Halloween horror film for your month of October. I watch this whenever it's dark outside, though. If it's cold and windy, even if it's like February, I'm going to watch this film.
Oh, hell yeah.
I really love it. I'm so glad you do too, and I'm hopefully reminding people about this film that came out many years ago, because I'm sure most of you had seen it. If you haven't, give it a try, and if you've seen it before, go ahead and rewatch it. It's currently streaming on Paramount+.
Perfect. I watched my Blu-ray copy.
Now, before we get into your film this week, I will tell everyone that Sleepy Hollow wasn't... Well, it was my first choice, but it came rather late in the game because I had never seen John's pick before, so I had to watch it first and then figure out what the hell I was going to pair with it. And I went through a couple of different iterations and decisions on what the heck I could pair with his film. And it started off of, well, maybe I'll pick another movie from the same director. Oh, well, maybe I'll pick another movie that is a horror movie, but a little bit campy as well. And going through it and going through the list, it really came down to the fact that this movie has a curse in it. And that was what inspired me to pick Sleepy Hollow. I hope you think it was a good pairing, because it is John's turn to talk about his movie this week.
It's certainly an interesting pairing, but I think it works because of the cursability of both of these movies.
Fantastic.
All right, let's fast forward 10 years to 2009 when my pick came out. My pick is written by Sam Raimi and Ivan Raimi. This film is directed by Sam Raimi. If you don't know him by name, he created the Evil Dead series, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness. He's also the director of the first 3 Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. He also directed A Simple Plan, which I never did see, but I heard was great. And he also directed a movie with Cate Blanchett called The Gift, which, if nobody's seen The Gift, it's not great, but it's not bad either.
I watched A Simple Plan back when I was probably too young to watch it, I think like 16 or 17. I thought it was terrible, but I think it's because I was 16 or 17 and thought it was really boring, and it just wasn't the right age for me to watch that film. I should probably watch it again. It has Bill Paxton in it.
Bill Paxton is in it. Yes, I've heard that. I've heard good and bad things about the movie. One day I'll check it out. And he also did Oz the Great and Powerful with James Franco, which is a beautiful movie. I don't know how many people have seen that one. And unfortunately, Sam Raimi did direct the last Doctor Strange multiverse movie, which was not good. But that's okay. We are not here to discuss the movies that aren't good. We're here to discuss the horror movie that he directed from 2009 starring Alison Lohman and Justin Long. This is Drag Me to Hell.
Yes, and that is why I originally was going to pick Evil Dead 1 or 2, starring Bruce Campbell, to pair with this movie this week, but I went another direction. Evil Dead 2 might be on the list at some point in the future. I think maybe, you know what? When you pick a sequel for next year that you just texted me about the other day, maybe that's when I'll put Evil Dead 2 on it, because Evil Dead 2 is better than Evil Dead 1.
That's what I've heard. I've not seen any of the Evil Dead movies except for the newest installment from 2 years ago, Evil Dead Rise, which I was a big fan of.
Oh, okay.
And I actually own Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. They were given to me as gifts by a friend of mine. I just still have not watched them.
Okay, so hold off. I'm going to introduce you to Evil Dead 2 first, and then when we do a campy, awesome horror action movie, I'll put Army of Darkness on there because I love that film so much.
All right. Well, I should see Evil Dead, though, shouldn't I?
No, they're standalone. It's not like I'm supposed to see Smile before I watch Smile 2 next year, right?
Well, I would just tell you not to watch Smile because Smile sucked, and Smile 2 was actually pretty badass.
That's my point. Evil Dead, I mean, it's a cool... It seems like a student-produced film, and there's just lots of screaming in it, and Evil Dead 2 is so much better.
All right.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll tell you what
Sounds
happens in
good.
Evil Dead 1, and you'll be fine.
All right, that works.
Okay, so back to Drag Me to Hell, sorry.
Yes, Drag Me to Hell. On top of Alison Lohman and Justin Long, this movie also starts Dilip Rao, David Paymer, Lorna Raver, and Adriana Barana. This movie... I'll never forget the first time I watched it. I fell in love with it very fast, very hard. It is horrifying. It is disgusting.
Yes.
It is. It's just so great. I love it. Now, I'm going to break Drag Me to Hell down because the story is actually really good, in my personal opinion. This movie centers on Christine, played by Alison Lohman. She is a loan officer at a bank, and she's trying to make her way up the corporate ladder and become a senior loan officer. Of course, she has a little bit of competition with another guy in the office who's trying to make her look stupid, which backfires on him a couple of times, and I really like the way that she handles that.
Me too, and did you recognize that guy?
Oh, absolutely.
because he's in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yes, he is. He is in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. He is one of Chow Yun-fat's henchmen. He is also in and has a fantastic scene, albeit over the phone, with Tom Cruise in Tropic fucking Thunder.
Oh my God, that is him! Yes!
He is Flaming Dragon!
Can you find out who that was?
Yes, his name is Reggie Lee. He's very good in Drag Me to Hell, and he's a great character actor.
Yes.
Absolutely loved seeing him pop up in this.
I totally forgot he was in Tropic Thunder. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what I thought you were talking about when you said, do you recognize him? I'm like, of fucking course I do.
Oh, thank you for that reminder.
Absolutely. So as Christy is trying to work her way up the corporate ladder, her boss keeps telling her that she also needs to fill Stu in on how to go over their loan procedures and stuff, just in case he gets the job over her. This really does not sit well with Christine, and this is when we're introduced to Mrs. Ganesh, played by Lorna Raver. Mrs. Ganesh comes into the house. She is an older woman. She's definitely got a problem with not only her eye, but her talking and her coughing, and gets really things just start to get a little disgusting for Christine. And she's really trying her hardest to be professional while Mrs. Ganesh is explaining what's going on. And Mrs. Ganesh is there trying to get an extension on her mortgage so that she can stay in her house that she's been living in for decades and decades and decades. Christine goes to her boss with the compassion of humanity, and you can totally see it in Alison Lohman's face. I really like Alison Lohman in this role. We've seen her before in a past pick of mine of Big Fish.
Thank you, God. Well, that's an interesting connection to our movies this week.
Yeah.
I was trying to place where the heck I'd seen her before.
Yeah, she was great in Big Fish, albeit a very small role. Now, she is talking with her manager, played by David Paymer, about how she really feels for this older woman and how she feels that they need to extend her credit. And her boss looks at her and says, well, this is a tough decision. And like he said to her earlier in the movie, tough decisions are what makes a great loan officer. And if she wants to be the chief loan officer, she's going to have to make the tough decisions. So Christine leaves the office, goes and sits back down with Mrs. Ganesh, and decides that she is not going to extend her loan. Mrs. Ganesh gets very upset about this. She gets so upset and so sad about this whole thing that she ends up getting on her knees and begging Christine to extend her loan. And Christine pushes her away, and this is when Mrs. Ganesh starts to really get upset.
You shame me. I beg you, and you shame me.
Now Christine is stuck with everybody in the office, really just kind of looking at her. I don't know if you recognized one of the other ladies sitting at one of the desks there, V.
I didn't, actually.
Oh, Octavia Spencer is sitting at one of the desks
No
in
way!
the bank. Yep,
Wow.
she's in the background. Yeah, and she also shows up in one of the Spider-Man movies as well. It seems like her
Yes.
and Sam Raimi have a pretty good relationship.
I remember her in the Spider-Man movie when she... when Tobey Maguire tries to get into wrestling. God, that was a good scene.
Yep. So the day is over. Christine feels that she's done the right thing and that promotion is hers. She goes out to her car, and what happens? She gets attacked by Mrs. Ganesh. In a very fucked up, intense, gruesome attack on poor Christine.
Rule number 4, remember your seatbelts.
And always lock your doors. I love the reveal of Mrs. Ganesh in that sequence. I remember being just terrified. I watched this movie alone for the first time in my studio apartment in North Hollywood. I was so baked. And just that whole sequence in the car with her and Mrs. Ganesh, especially when Mrs. Ganesh goes flying and her dentures fall out of her mouth. The next moment is absolutely gut-wrenching and disgusting.
This movie's so gross.
It is. It's so fucking gross. And this is the first time that I've watched this movie where I actually gagged. I have never gagged before, but I think as I'm getting older, my stomach might be getting slightly weaker for stuff like grotesquerie like this. Blood and guts, no big deal. But what happens to Christine with Mrs. Ganesh, not only once, but like 3 or 4 other times in this fucking movie? Ugh, it's so foul.
That is why in my early 20s, when I was pre-med, I changed my major because blood and guts don't bother me. Mucus and pus does.
Yeah. At the climax of this attack on Christine, Mrs. Ganesh rips off one of her buttons on her coat and curses the button, which ultimately ends up cursing Christine. Now Christine is a target of the Lamia, which the Lamia is actually part of Greek mythology as a boogie woman, not a goat type of spirit from hell like is portrayed in this movie. They took a lot of liberties. Sam Raimi even said that they went a very artistic route with the Lamia lore. No big deal. It still works. It's still terrifying. It's still awesome. So now the Lamia is after Christine, and Christine is figuring out a way to be uncursed. She goes and sees a fortune teller played by Dileep Rao. If you don't recognize him by name, he is also in Inception and in the Avatar movies. He's a great character actor. Every time he shows up, I get comfortable because I feel like it's going to be a fun time, except for Drag Me to Hell.
Yes, I really like him as the scientist in the Avatar movies. He's a great addition.
Yeah, he is. And he's so good in Inception when he's coming up with the cocktail to get them 3 layers deep in the dream world. Just so badass. So
I don't think
on top
I've
of all of
seen Inception since theaters, now that I think about it.
that is a crime against Christopher Nolan, and I curse you, Lamia, to go and watch Inception.
You need to use a movie
I don't have
ticket.
anything of yours as
It's
possession.
just a movie ticket. It's fine. I think it's fair.
So now Christine is trying to figure out a way to be uncursed. She's got a boyfriend, Clay, played by Justin Long, who is great in this movie as well. He's a great addition. And for the rest of the movie, we're along for this ride while Christine does what she can to not only see fortune tellers, but sacrifice certain things in her life and say certain prayers. And hopefully throughout this whole process, Christine is able to rid herself of this curse of the Lamia that Mrs. Ganesh has put on her. And we are treated to some truly horrifying moments for a PG-13 movie. This is a solid horror movie. So many great scares. And yes, there are moments where it's so disgusting and fucked up that you can't help but laugh. But there are just so many great moments in this movie. Alison Lohman is great. She did all her own stunts in this movie.
Nice.
And it's just a kick-ass romp. I love it. I would love a sequel, even though I don't think we really need one. It's just a great, great hour and a half. And if any of you out there have seen it, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Vee, I know this was your first time. Lay it on me. What did you think of Drag Me to Hell?
Well, first and foremost, the opening scene of this movie has the kid from Stargate in it, which I thought was great. He plays the father.
Oh.
So I thought that was really fun, but I really didn't know what to expect. And like I said, I thought this was a Rob Zombie film, so I was really preparing myself for a dark, horrific film. And then I saw Sam Raimi direct it, and I was like, oh, okay, I need to lighten things up a little bit. I need to relax a bit as well because it's a Sam Raimi film.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, a little bit, actually. And I think the opening credits of this film are amazing. Really gorgeous,
hell
and
yeah.
I think informative as well, and I like the lithographic print style that they used for it. And then it just gets disgusting almost immediately, and I gagged and I looked away, and I was really pissed at you for a lot of it. And, oh, God. It's a Sam Raimi film, so it gets a little farcical, right? It gets a little too campy, and it pulls you... That sort of level of campiness pulls me out of films, because I'm just like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. And so I was pulled out of this film a couple times, but Allison does a fantastic job in the movie. She really
great.
carries the film. I think that she should be in more horror movies because she did a really great job.
Oh, yeah. Completely agree.
And then there was a moment in the movie where I sent you an audio text.
Yeah, you did.
I was rather upset. I don't curse that often, especially as often as you, but do you want to tell our audience what I screamed at you over the phone?
You know what? I'll just play it for our audience.
Oh, fuck you!
Yeah, that's one of the first times that you've ever sent just a straight fuck you to me. I think The Conjuring was the last one, honestly. Fuck you for making me watch that movie. This one's just a straight fuck you.
And in completely different context, because I was just scared, or actually, I was just terrified after The Conjuring. I love that film, though. But this one had to do with a very particular scene in the movie. I even texted you while it was about to happen, going, please tell me this doesn't happen. Please tell me this. And then it did. And I was angry. So I sent you that.
I'll be honest with you, when I was watching it this time around, and I watch this movie every year ever since I saw it for the first time, I forget about it. And then when it came up this time, I was like, oh, maybe I should warn Vee. But I can't warn you. I can't
no
do that. I didn't do
spoilers
that
here,
with
people.
White Fang. No spoilers. You gotta just go into it like the adult that you are and deal with it.
And then I will text you that cursed voice text like an adult.
Exactly. Perfect.
So, yes.
We have an accord.
Drag Me to Hell. I don't know. Allison did such a good job in it, but I think it's just a little over the top for me. I wouldn't watch this movie again. I understand why you love it. The old woman is terrifying. She did a great job too,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I didn't know where this story was going. I liked that as well. I didn't know where it would end up. And that was a nice surprise. But overall, this movie is just so gross. For grossness' sake. Then that's actually, you know what? That's my real problem with this film. It's for grossness' sake. It's not for driving the plot forward. There was no reason this old woman had to be as disgusting as she was, and why there had to be as much mucus and pus in this movie as there was. And so, yeah, it was just too much and for no reason. And that's why afterwards I was like, oh, God, I'm really, really, really glad you said don't eat before watching this movie.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody should be forewarned. Do not eat before you see this movie. So if you did go to the theater to see this, I hope you had dinner afterwards.
No, because I was disgusted and didn't eat the rest of the night.
Oh, perfect. Well, there you go. I helped you fast for a day.
Yeah, it's a great weight loss program.
I think the grossest scene that, it worked on every level, but it just got far grosser was when she goes to the wake and the whole coffin thing happens.
No reason for
that was a bit much, but the whole thing in the car, I totally understood. I just was like, that's just so fucking gross. And then the dream that she has where she throws up in her mouth is really fucking gross too.
Yeah,
but
no
that's
reason.
that's going back to Conjuring, and other horror movies where the possessor or the possessee will throw up into somebody else's mouth to continue on the possession and the curses and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty good. And like you said, Lohman was so good. Justin Long was awesome. I thought the supporting cast also was really good, next to Dilip, but the people that played Justin Long's character's parents were really good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that whole sequence.
Yeah, that was good.
And the woman that plays the Oracle or the witch doctor, whatever you want to call her, Adriana Baranza, it got farcical with the whole goat thing. And when the demon possesses the dude and he's dancing in midair, I was just kind of like, okay,
CGI.
this is a little fucking ridiculous.
But
yeah, and the whole
just
goat you bitch, just, that shit was pretty fucking
him
funny.
Dancing on top of the fire pit table reminded me of the original It.
Oh, yeah. All right, I can see that.
The clown's dancing. I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. So I will absolutely hand it to you. There are ridiculous moments. I think my least favorite moment is the scene where she's in the garage with the anvil. I didn't like that whole scene. That CGI is some of the worst I've ever seen since Wolverine.
Yeah.
But it still is. Overall, it is certain. I think another thing, too, is when I saw it, I was alone in my apartment. I was baked out of my mind, and I was just starting to get into horror movies. And this was one of those movies that I had heard so many good things about. So when I watched it and I was legitimately scared, I was like, okay, I'm sold. I love this movie. And I thought Sam Raimi just did a great job. And of course, they're having a lot of fun with it. And there's a Production Diaries documentary on the DVD, and everybody just said that it was nothing but a good time and laughs a minute on set. So everybody had a great, kind of similar to The Conjuring. Everybody was having so much fun making the movie that it certainly shines through. And we don't spoil anything here, but the final 8 minutes of this movie is certainly eye-popping. Even the beginning of the movie, I didn't even want to get into it, but I like that you mentioned that the guy that plays the dad is in Stargate. That's awesome. But the opening of this movie scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it, and I felt it never let up. And while being disgusting, it still sells as a decent horror movie.
And that's the thing. Tonally, the opening scene of this movie is wildly different than the rest of it. And I think that's a problem, too, because
that's true.
Coming into this movie, I was like, okay, demon possession, and this necklace is going to be handed off to the next person. And then, I thought maybe she'd find it at a thrift store or a crafts fair style, secondhand stall thing. And I was like, okay, this is how it's going to happen. And then it takes this turn, tonally speaking, that really threw me off. The only reason I wasn't completely shocked is because it's Sam Raimi and he is very campy, and that's just something you know about him if you've seen his movies before. But yeah, I think that if you hang on to the original scene, because that is very shocking, the opening of this movie.
Oh yeah. Oh, big time.
And make a movie off of that with the same darkness and willingness to kill the people they killed in the opening scene, then I think you have something. And I think that could be a terrifying film.
I gotcha. Cool. Well, it sounds like you didn't hate it. You had a good time with it.
No, and one other thing I want to bring up actually, because you did talk about it a little bit, and I did want to mention it, is in the bank, that scene, you really empathize with both of them. You can understand where Allison's coming from. She's getting for this job. This guy who's coming against her is a real snake. And she's just trying to do her job and make this decision. And then this old woman who just wants to stay in her house, but she's been late before, but she just, she's a single old woman. She needs help. And so you really see both sides. And I like how they portrayed that neither one is really wrong in this situation. It's just a crappy setup from both sides. And I get that. And nobody's a winner. And then nobody's a winner.
Nobody's a winner. Absolutely. There's a scene in the bank where Christine's nose starts to bleed very uncontrollably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Done practically.
What, they punched her in the face?
Yeah, they punched her in the face. No, they ended up wiring a small hose from her back all the way up through her face into her nostril and adding a little something else inside her nostril where when the fake blood was shooting out of this little mechanism, it bounced off this little piece in her nose and shot out of her nose because they tried a couple of times and it just kept trickling down her face.
Oh, okay.
But they ended up re-rigging it and getting it to shoot out at David Paymer, which I think it gets on the more like, whoa, okay, well, that's a little fucking weird. But when somebody's cursed, you never know what's going to happen to the human body.
Right, that's true.
There was another director that Sam Raimi actually wanted to direct this movie, but he was busy directing another movie. We just discussed this other movie. I wonder if you might be able to guess who Sam Raimi approached to direct Drag Me to Hell. We've just discussed one of his movies. We've done two other.
Would that be Edgar Wright?
It was Edgar Wright, yes,
Okay.
but Edgar Wright turned it down because he didn't feel he was correct for it, and he was also in the middle of directing Hot Fuzz.
Oh, Hot Fuzz is such a better movie.
Oh, they're completely different
Doesn't
genres,
matter.
but
Hot Fuzz is still better.
it matters. There's a cemetery sequence in this movie that is also pretty disgusting, and that took 2 weeks to shoot. And that was most of it was practically done.
Okay.
And a lot of that mud was made with Oreos.
Oh my god, tasty forbidden mud. Finally, something that's edible that we're talking about on our podcast.
Yes.
Okay, but I think that sequence is really well done. I loved that sequence.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's badass. I love the confidence in Christine's face, and especially when everything seems to be hunky-dory.
It actually reminded me a lot of the scene from Poltergeist where she's in the pit.
Yeah.
I think that maybe it was an homage.
It could have been. Sam Raimi is a big horror movie nut, so I imagine that is some sort of nod to Poltergeist and several other movies, maybe even The Descent.
I remember movies from time to time that we've already done on this podcast that I wish we could just talk about again because we love them so much. And The Descent is one of them. And I think even a couple weeks ago I texted you and I said, can I just pick The Descent so we can talk about it again?
You did, yeah.
I made my dad...
I love that. I love that I turned you onto that movie. It's one of the best. It's so fucking good.
It's in my top 10 horror movies of all time. I love it so
Nice.
much. To a point where I made my dad watch it because it seemed like a girl power movie. And I was like, no, it's cool enough. He does not like horror, but he does like alien movies and he does like sci-fi and things like that. I thought it was adjacent enough where it'd be okay. And he didn't talk much after the film. I'm not sure if he enjoyed it, but...
Oh, you still don't know, huh?
I didn't want to really poke him and ask him because it just felt like maybe he didn't and I didn't want to hear it. And so I feel kind of bad because I was like, okay, well, if he hated the movie, I apologize. So I was just so excited to introduce it to him because I love it so much.
It's a great movie. Neil Marshall and all the ladies just knocked it out of the park with The Descent.
Yeah, after my mom listens to this episode, she can text me after she asks my dad for an actual answer.
Do it, Susan.
Yeah, let me
him.
know if Dad actually liked The Descent.
I would love to know, too. Now, Drag Me to Hell came out May 29th of 2009, had a $30 million budget.
Budget makes sense. Timeline doesn't. It's so weird that horror movies aren't released in October anymore.
I know. I like that, though, because you get horror movies throughout the year. And
Yeah,
that's what's been happening
fine.
in 2025.
Which is fine. As we just discussed, I just watched Until Dawn, and that had been released months and months and months ago. But I wish there were also horror movies being released in October. That's what I'm talking about, is that it just seems like there's only 2 or 3 released in the entire month of October these days, and most of them are sequels that suck.
Now, getting back to Drag Me to Hell, the budget was $30 million. Like I mentioned, in the domestic box office, pulled in $42.1 million, and worldwide $90.8 million.
There we go.
For Drag Me to Hell. Yeah, it did very well worldwide. Did pretty well in the U.S. too. I remember a lot of people loving it, and a lot of people still do.
I'm actually, yeah, now that you've said that it made 3 times its budget, I am shocked they didn't try to make a sequel out of it.
Yeah, but that's okay. You know,
Not everything
they don't
needs a
always need
sequel.
sequels. Not at all. We have done the year 2009 many, many times here at Movies You Missed Podcast, so I'm not going to go too deep into the year. Suffice to say, my pick for this week of Drag Me to Hell at $42.1 million domestic box office gross was number 74 in the highest grossing box office of 2009. So top 75, top 100. So that is Drag Me to Hell. If you care to check it out, it is currently streaming on HBO Max. I watched my DVD copy. I love it, and I'm glad V had a good time with it as well. And V, I'm curious if you would watch Sleepy Hollow with your grandmother.
Drag Me to Hell is also on Peacock, so if you have a Peacock subscription, you can watch it there too.
Well, all right, there you go. 2 ways to watch.
I totally would watch Sleepy Hollow with my grandma. It's got that, it's so weird to say, I know, but it's almost family friendly, or it feels like a family Halloween movie.
It kind of does have that feel to it.
Even though it's rated R. But
yep, R-rated for strong, bloody violence.
The weird thing is that your movie that's PG-13 seems much more adult than my film. I would introduce Sleepy Hollow to my niece. Oh, God, I really want to introduce Sleepy Hollow to my nieces this year.
Ooh, yeah.
Jillian and Ainsley, you're watching Sleepy Hollow with me. So I would say, honestly, even though there are some decapitations, 13 or 14 and above. I know that's rare for me to say, but it's not as scary as it could be, and that's why I think a lot of families can watch this film.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's still badass as an adult, over 30 short from 40.
Most certainly.
And would you watch Drag Me to Hell with your grandma?
Oh, 1,000%. I'm actually really sad I didn't get to. I know my grandmother would have loved it.
Oh, totally.
Well, that is our episode this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I had a great time talking about both of these movies. I loved watching them as well. Can't wait for next week. Next week's going to be pretty intense, too. And it's also sad because we're getting close to the end of October, and I'm just going to have to keep watching horror movies because I love them so much. And V, I'm curious. Well, our audience is curious because I already know what your pick is, but you want to tell everybody what your pick for next week is here at Movies You Missed Podcast?
Yes, we have done Haunted Houses this month with the Amityville Horror and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a movie you did not like at all. And
nope.
So now
Although there is a remake coming.
There is. You just sent me the trailer of that.
Was it Amanda Seyfried? I know Micah Monroe is in it, and she was in Longlegs. Is it Amanda Seyfried, or is it not Amanda Seyfried?
No, it's not her. It's another blonde actress I didn't recognize.
Okay.
So
I'm getting Amanda Seyfried mixed up then because I just saw a trailer with her and Sydney Sweeney in it. I can't remember the name of that one.
Oh, okay.
But,
got it.
Maybe that's why I'm getting them confused. Anyway.
So now that we've done Haunted Houses, we are going to do Haunted Spaceships.
Yeah. Space horror.
So to pair with your pick, which you will mention in just a moment, I chose a movie that hardly anyone has ever heard of.
Yeah.
It stars Dennis Quaid and Ben Foster, who we both love on this show.
Oh, yes.
It is called Pandorum, and you can watch it if you have a Starz subscription.
Perfect.
And funny enough, another movie that came out in 2009.
Oh, all right. Awesome.
And what space horror did you pick for our last week of October this year?
Oh, I picked a doozy.
Yeah, you did.
I can't wait to discuss it. I just got the 4K of this one. I've had the VHS, the DVD, the Blu-ray, you name it, every format that's come out since 1997 of this masterpiece, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, not PTA. This is a different Paul Anderson. This film stars Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, Kathleen Quinlan, Jolie Richardson, Richard T. Jones. And our good buddy Jason Isaacs.
Yeah.
This is Event Horizon.
One of my all-time favorite Sam Neill performances.
So good. And if you care to follow along, it is streaming on Peacock. Give it a shot if you've not seen it. This movie is fucked.
It really is, and I know a lot of you need to rewatch it because you haven't seen it in a while, including my sister Shannon, who introduced me to this film back when I was a teenager, and it scared the ever-living hell out of me.
Oh, I can't wait to get into how I first saw Event Horizon. I cannot wait.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. So that'll be next week. Stay tuned. Do follow along. Watch them with us. Watch them at home. Watch them alone. Watch them with someone you love. Watch them with someone you don't mind throwing up on. All that kind of stuff. Please do rate, review, subscribe, follow us on all social media. It's been a good year so far, and it seems like it's only going to get better. Can't wait to continue on. But before we sign off here at Movies You Miss Podcast, we love to sign off with film as a form of art, and in art, all opinions are valid, except if you think.
Adding mucus and pus and disgusting bodily fluids makes a movie scarier.
Just makes it more disgusting.
Yeah.
All right, well, I can get on board with that.
I'm going to go take a shower now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.